Not too far along in this series, and guess what? We got the sign falling on this planet. And it really ain't good at first, you know. Off the bat, you're gonna go through a long learning experience with this freaking planet, Virgos. So, let's get into it. Alright. Yo, what up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the Solar System series known as, have you thought about it this way? We're talking about the most detail-oriented sign in this ecliptic, known as Virgo. Now, with based off the intro, you may be able to imply that with Venus and Virgo, it doesn't do too well here. But before we get into all the basics, let's do our triple dipples. You know what I'm saying? So, Venus and Virgo, Venus and Virgo, Venus in Virgo. So, now that we got our lenses on and we can see what we're talking about, let's break it down. So, Venus, right? Venus is the planet of love, appreciation, values, as well as how you relate to others. And based off of, if you know anything about the Roman mythology, you know the goddess Venus. Venus is a very loving, kind, gentle, appreciative goddess based off the astrological influences of the planet Venus itself, you know. Ain't naming that for no goddamn reason, wink wink. So let's get into the more the more harsher side of things, which is what this planet falls in, you know what I'm saying? So, Virgo. Let's talk about Virgo a little bit, right? For you Venus and Virgos here, let's break it down. I wish I had a knuckle cracking sound, but we're working on it. So, Virgo, right? Virgo is born from the 6th house. This house is basically the house of the work process in general. It, it deals with a lot of things. It basically is, like I said, it's the work process. It's where you create the blueprint. You break down the specific steps of how you want to do it based off the urgency of the situation. You pick the project based off of the pertinence and, the practicality of the situation. And then after you, like I said, create the blueprint, create the process, break that process down and figure it out in steps, you have to actually work and follow through on what you created out to be all like, is this what I really want to do right now? And you may not actually follow this process that you laid out to a T. However, you will follow it mostly and basically create a more efficient situation along the way. Because with Virgo being at home in this house, because it's born from this house, it not only, works on the efficiency of the process, through the process that they're working on, trying to create a more efficient way to do a certain thing, they're also working on the efficiency of the process. This is why they're so analytical, so detailed, and, so on and so forth. Anal. Fucking Virgo, man. But, yeah, enough said about that. Let's move on to their modality and element, which is mutable earth, being adaptable and changeable to different ways of, thinking and practicality. It's, this is the feminine side to Mercury, which is the planet it's ruled by, which makes it similar to Gemini in the way of, Gemini gets to bounce out, talk to a lot of people, get all of these ideas, and, push out all of these ideas as well, whether they're good or not, how them airheads be. And then Virgo is kind of the one sitting back being the feminine side of this planet, which is the Mercury, the planet of thinking, communication, that kind of sits back, absorbs, and takes in all this information relative to what it's working on right in the here and now, Because as I mentioned in one of my other videos, if these people want to go with plumbing, they're going to have to learn a lot more than plumbing. They're going to have to learn a little bit about the weather of the area, they're going to have to learn a little bit about chemistry and, probably basics in welding, because they want to know how to do every single aspect of putting these pipes in all the way through manufacturing and usage and improving that usage, you know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, let's touch on the planets that sort of build the archetype of this sign that is placed in the house of love, appreciation, values, right? Oh, you're going to be in for a wild one at the end with this one. So, Virgo is ruled by the planet of Mercury. It's also sort of exalted in Mercury. It does pretty well here. Mercury's the planet of thinking, communication, as I mentioned before, with the masculine and feminine side. It loves to be here. This is where it's at home at. And also, it's a really good home because it's sort of exalted here. And then it is away in Jupiter as well as Neptune. Jupiter is the planet of expansion through experience, where you gain, wisdom and knowledge by actually going through the physical experience and gaining your own understanding as well as understanding and possibly an overstanding of the situation. That's a whole nother video though. But and then it's also away in Neptune, the planet of dreams, illusions, imagination, nightmares if you're really not having a good time, and so on and so forth. Obviously Virgo doesn't want to be here. It's focused on the practicality. You're trying to tell it to dream? Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? And then here, where we land on this planet, is where it falls, which is in Venus, the planet of love, appreciation, and values, right where we're at now, you know what I'm saying? I was about to say Mercury, that's the planet it's ruled by. Virgo fucking hates being here. It cannot stand to be here more than I don't even want to say how long it stands to be here. It says, I gotta be relatable? I can't talk about what I want to do? You want me to be here? What? No. And then this is where the planet goes, like, I don't want to deal with this sign. And Virgo's like, I don't want to deal with you either. And they go to sleep, you know, they're like, oh. Dreaming of Mercury. And then it keeps it moving, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, so basically let's go over a little bit of the traits that are with Venus and Virgo here. So, as I mentioned, Venus hates Virgo, because Virgo wants to be very analytical of this, you know what I'm saying? And if you have ever experienced loving, appreciating something, or a person, or a relationship, or anything, really, for that matter, you can love and appreciate anything. You would know that trying to analyze that, trying to quantify that, trying to break that down into a repeatable process, like the scientific method or something, no, it doesn't work. You don't want to do that at all, you know. That just, it doesn't mesh. It doesn't work. You can't just get, like, you know, a present on Christmas for something, and then, like, you know, score a freaking, like, your appreciation meter of this, like, you know, situation, and just be like, oh, you know, it's exactly like, you know, kind of calculating the heat of freaking hot chili peppers, you know? The Scoville level, well, that's a real accurate measurement, you know? You can't quantify the appreciation and love of a certain subject, situation, and experience. You just can't do that. It's just too much work, you know? Because when you go through this, you forego the actual experience of loving, because you're focused it from a mental place and you're not feeling the experience. So this is why freaking Venus and Virgo people will be all like, why do I not feel love? You know, like they may not feel love from their, you know, their parents or guardians. They may not feel love from their siblings. They may not feel love or appreciated from their friends even, you know. Like they may freaking pick a friend off the strength of like, oh, you know, like this guy got the freaking, like, you know, for a throwback back to way back when, oh man, this dude got an Atari before everybody. Gee man, oh, nah, go. Freaking Hanukkah came early, you know what I'm saying? So everybody's friends with this person, and this person was a freaking Venus and Virgo person. They would be like, oh, well, you know, I got this, might as well tell. I mean, I'm not saying they would tell everybody at school, but they would tell a few people at school that they may want to be friends with, like, hey man, you like Atari, you want to come play? You know, maybe they're trying to score a couple points in, like, the coolness category, and they're just like, oh man, I could really leverage this. You know, a Venus and Virgo person may actually think like that, you know, in the middle school ages of where they're trying to be cool, you know? Because they're so stuck of going through this experience of being like, fuck man, nobody actually wants to be my friend. Nobody can relate to me. Like, why doesn't anybody actually appreciate me? When maybe even people do appreciate their actual quirkiness of being, of like, trying to like just use their mind so much when they want to like actually feel something, you know? It's like, having Venus and Virgo is sort of like placing a box around your heart, and it's just like, you know, say if you're like, you know, you're actually thinking in like Mercury area, your body is like located here. If you have Venus and Virgo, it's like your heart is just like, you know, it beats and it does its thing, but it's like this area of the body just creeps in around it and just holds it in, you know, and you have to actually put in the work by using this understanding to reverse what it's already done, so you can expand this heart aspect of yourself. You know what I'm saying? So this is why you sort of do feel like what I said before. It's where like, oh, I can't relate to these people. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like you just got to put in the work to actually, you know, catch yourself trying to analyze something, catch yourself feeling the way you're feeling, and actually be like, oh, okay, you know, this is a feeling. I'm feeling the opposite of this feeling. And if I were to just kind of like go with the flow and not use this aspect of myself, maybe it'll shrink and I'll actually learn how to just feel and exist with people, you know? Because having Mercury in Virgo is going through the learning process of being the master of these feelings, you know what I'm saying? This is why, you know, Venus is asleep in some capacity here. It's like recharging. It's actually going through like, you could look at like having this placement as the planet Venus sort of going through like that update period, where it's like you see it turning on your computer, churning on your computer. Oh, you know, it's still updated. And then when you actually go through an experience of not feeling loved or like not knowing how to show your appreciation to people, that's where it's sort of like 67%. It's been at 67% for an hour. You know, it being like, so if we were talking about this alignment as an update, this 67% an hour is basically your entire middle school period, where you're so focused on the social aspect. You know, like not it kind of, I guess how you're seen would be a little like overstatement of it, but this isn't, the Venus and Virgo person isn't to that degree. It's more of like the simple level of I'm not relating to these people. I'm not relating to these people. You know, it's where this is that like gap between like elementary school and middle school, and depending on if you had junior high or not, it would be the gap from, you know, the first is 5th to 6th, and then the second is, you know, 6th to 7th, depending on the system you're applied to. But that's a whole nother story. You know, just talking about Virgo, you're gonna, it's the detail-oriented signs, man. Details are gonna pop up when you're talking about this stuff, you know. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. You're going through the learning experience. Basically, other than that, it's just chopping up the different situations of this learning experience and how you will just basically, you gotta. Where everybody else figures it out, you know, maybe by like 3rd or like 4th grade, you're sort of stuck. You're like a late bloomer, man, with this sign. You're not going to know how to relate to people till high school, you know. You may be, with this sign, you may not actually be, probably this is more for dudes, but with this sign, you may not actually be in a relationship till like the later part of high school, or maybe even college nowadays, because you're just, you can be so comfortable and sort of just avoid this whole situation if it's not working out for you, you know. But I guess like it would be a little different for girls, but that's we'll save that for another video. Anyways, let's break down the technical alignments so you can understand this sign for yourself. Okay, so once again, Venus in Virgo. Venus is the planet of love, appreciation, values, as well as how you relate to others. Virgo is the sign of mutable Earth, which means it's adaptable and changeable to different ways of thinking and practicality. You know, so you got a very adaptive mind, but it doesn't work in Venus, obviously. And then whatchamacallit, right? It's born from the 6th house. This house is basically the work process, so this is the overarching influence of the sign of Virgo. And then whatchamacallit, Venus is at home in Mercury. No, not Venus isn't at home in Mercury. I don't know why I said that. Virgo is at home in Mercury. Virgo is away in Jupiter as well as Neptune, and then it falls in this planet, Venus. Anyways, thanks for watching the solar system series known as Have You Thought About It This Way, where we talk about the most detail-oriented sign in this ecliptic known as Virgo. Anyways, peace.